Hi, this is Stuart McFreed, the fact executing speaker. Most of the times, I'm on the controversial side of topics, but with facts and solutions. I got a topic here which is pretty sensitive, whereby out loud we should take part into this topic, whereby at least we should try to get a knowledge exactly what is happening. Those who'd love to antagonize the topic for whatever be phlegmatic and create kind of emotional structures from which you may antagonize whatever I'm going to be saying to you. But this is not a fight. This is not a verbal war. We are trying to find solutions with facts. The title of my topic is Why South Africans are called xenophobic. Why the anger of South Africans against foreign nationals? What are the causes? Can we get to the point? Briefly, let me just come up with this. During the apartheid era, the apartheid government, during the struggle, South Africans used to get out of South Africa to neighboring countries for refuge. Those countries out there used to look after South Africans properly. But there were rules and regulations that, of course, were actually attached. So South Africans were actually given housing in different countries, or who actually had refugee status in different countries. Yes, they could not just get into a country and start working. They couldn't just go around establishing businesses. They could not just go around and just get married to women without actually meeting the proper criteria, which of course is expected. Those countrymen and women over there used to take care of South Africa. They never used to call South Africans names. They never used to ill-treat South Africans. But guess what? South Africans could not just stay everywhere. Yes, there were some camps, which of course were meant for all foreign nationals who, of course, had to get refuge in those type of countries. South Africans were in some camps or certain specific areas whereby if they are wanted or they need to be seen or to be contacted, it was pretty easy. Anyway, they could be found. I remember I was out there in the African continent in most countries. I had lovely times until such time 1994 when I voted in Zambia. We had lovely times. We were not actually harassed or given bad times by those nationals across the borders. But after we got our independence from South Africa government of the apartheid era, and foreign nationals started moving into our countries, things started changing. We realized there was an influx of these people, whereby it was actually even mentioned that, of course, they were undocumented, many of them who actually were discovered in South Africa. The reason why they were undocumented, we need to question that. We've got 4 sectors, which of course I'm going to deal with right here, whereby I will actually challenge each and every group with contentions based on this issue of being xenophobic, South Africans being xenophobic. In the first place, the government of South Africa. I'm just going to challenge you on this. The second group would be South African citizens. I'm going to challenge you on this. The third level of that group would be the foreign nationals. I'm going to challenge you on this. Let us actually now start with the South African government. When foreign nationals coming into South Africa, it was a great thing for you to allow them to get inside into the country, but meeting specific type of criteria to me, or actually they're supposed actually to be attached to the rules and regulations of the country. They were not supposed to be overstaying in the country. They're supposed not to be working with the country without work permits. They're supposed not actually to be having business in the country without any kind of a proof being investors. When a person's supposed to be working in a country or in South Africa, like any other country in the world, getting a work permit, it stands to reason. If you get a work permit to work into the country, the whole entire situation depends on, is there no national of your country who does not actually have qualifications or profession, or who is in the position to get into a trade, which of course was required. If a South African did not have qualifications for a specific job or for a specific issue, then whoever brings a foreign national into the country and offer a work permit, it's supposed actually to be reflecting the contention that, yes, this person got a work permit based on the following. We cannot get a national that, of course, can do this type of job or who is qualified in this particular trade. Hence, we decided to get this particular individual. Are you actually doing that, government? I guess not. At the same time, when somebody's supposed to be some kind of an investor or business person, you would not just see people just running around in the country and start actually opening up shops or mines or whatever industries. Based on the global society criteria whereby is actually reflecting their economic values. When somebody is an investor or wants to invest in a country, for an example, the criteria could be, in other countries that I know, you've got to prove beyond any shadow of doubt that, of course, you're a proper investor in that country. You are going to add value to that country. You got to have hard cash of 200,000 US dollars or some kind of cash that, of course, will actually be tantamount to the required amount that, of course, will actually entitle the person to be in a position to be an investor. And once you get into that country as an investor, there will be another criteria whereby 51% of whatever you brought into the country to invest would belong to the national of that specific country. 49, you came in as an investor, will belong to you. Is it what you South Africans in government have actually looked at? Is it exactly what you actually showed that, of course, you're supposed to be doing? Instead, what we see, Chinese national, they come into the country, from other countries as well. We see the people also flocking into the country. Yes, within the African continent, from different countries, people flock into South Africa. What criteria do they meet as investors? Do they come into the country as investors, or they just come into the country to come and do whatever they want and then just get out with whatever belongs to the country of South Africa? The government, you got to explain this particular issue. And now, let's look at you, government. How do you allow them to get inside the country with your different departments, especially the Home Affairs? What qualifications do you attach to the actual existence of their whereabouts in this country? We realized, or we discovered, that most of the foreign nationals, especially in the African continent, they just flock into the country undocumented. Yes, some of them, they are documented, and then they overstay. They decided actually to be there forever. At the end of the day, we realized that, of course, they get jobs, and then they open up businesses, shops, everywhere. Now, you as a government, do you go out of your line to find out exactly these people who got into the country, where do they get the right to open up the businesses in the country when, of course, they are undocumented, some of them, or, of course, they actually don't meet the criteria expected? Did you go out of that? I guess not. Now, I want to go back into you, the government, with your segmented departments like the municipalities. We find in different towns, all these people, they've got shops. They've got what we call stands out there. Along the streets, they put all types of stuff that they want to sell. Now, as municipalities belonging to the government, do you go out of your way to go and find out, do those people got permits actually to sell stuff outside there on the streets? There are people who actually got shops, who pay actually rent, who pay taxes. Now, these are the people who just come up with their products or whatever they're selling, and they pack them up in front of the shops of these people who are actually paying rents and taxes to the government, and they're not paying taxes. Do you go out of your way really to investigate or to find out exactly why are the people doing that? Did you give them the right actually to go out there and start disturbing the other businesses, which of course are registered, are actually operating based on your requirements, taxes and rents and all the other services? You don't. Hence, all the streets in most of the towns are filled with people who got all their stands, whatever, and they're selling almost every funny thing over there. And of course, they're also actually disturbing the entrances of the businesses of course, are actually paying taxes to the government. Do you go out? You don't do that. So, government, this is actually your issue, whereby we find that the whole entire situation, confusion in the country, is actually caused by you. Now, here is it. Citizens of the country have actually gone up in arms, have gone up very angry. They started accusing these people of taking their jobs, taking their businesses, and these people gaining entry into their country unlawful. How are you sorting that out? These poor people who got in here for survival, being beaten up, being accused of this and that, anyway, whose fault is that? Let me tell you, government, you got to blame yourself for the whole entire confusion that is actually occurring in our country, South Africa. And let me tell you, you cannot just start sending the police officers and the Home Affairs people to go into the towns and start asking for permits and start asking for documents and all that. You can't do that. You cannot just open up a tap, water running from the one direction, and there's a spill of water all over. You start cleaning the spill instead of closing the tap. You need to close the tap first, then clean up the water. What I'm trying to say here in polite terms, you need to make sure your borders are tight. There's control over the borders. Corruption is going to stop. People who are flocking inside the country illegally must be arrested. I remember during those times of apartheid era, we never had a situation of this nature. You can say anything that you want about apartheid government. Apartheid government had a kind of border, which was, of course, very tight. People could not just move into the country unlawful. Why, in particular, now you are responsible? You let the people flock inside the country. The next thing, you leave them to start, keep on flogging. You want to clean the mess. You are going to take them out from the streets, from wherever, throw them out. But the tap is still running. They are still coming in. Let me tell you that tap, what is it all about? That is corruption. You are corrupt. The best thing that you need to do, government, is to close the borders. Make sure everything is pretty tight. Then clean up the mess. Find undocumented people. Let them go back home. Those documented based on the criteria met, let it be. Let them follow the regulations attached to their presence within the country. In polite terms, government, you are the actual cause of the confusion the actual cause of the hatred of South Africans toward foreign nationals. Let me tell you, those foreigners, they took care of us when we were out there. Their governments never actually let nonsense to happen, even to just to get in there without them knowing. They made sure that, of course, we were actually handled in a proper way, where, of course, we were camped, or there were camps for all foreign nationals, or those people who actually were under refuge. Why can't you do that? At the end of the day, government, you are the one that is actually letting people out the outside world start accusing ordinary South Africans as very rude, as xenophobic. People are talking out there, different countries abroad, they are talking ill about ordinary South African nationals. That, of course, they are rude, they are calling people names, they are calling them Makwerekwere, they are calling my Kirigambas, they are calling all types of names. These people are angry because of you. If you sorted out this matter, these foreign nationals would not have suffered for insults from the South Africans. These foreign nationals would not have been beaten up, being done all the funniest things in South Africa, if you took care of the whole entire situation from the beginning. What are we supposed to be saying right now? What are we supposed to be saying? You are the ones that, of course, made this thing to happen along this line. Let me come to the second group that, of course, is in charge of this confusion and hatred towards these foreign nationals. South Africans, brothers and sisters, you are humans. Human rights must be considered. Those are your brothers. Those are your brothers. They are actually black-skinned like yourselves. They are the people who actually looked after us when we were fighting for the liberation of this country. They were the people who accommodated us in their countries. They never beat us up. They never called us names. Why are you calling them names? You're calling them this and this and that. Why are you getting into their shops and throw the stuff out and all that? Why are you actually banning their business and all that? Let me ask you a few questions. Yeah, my South African nationals. If you hate these people so much, who are allowed to get into your country by your government, in your townships, they've got shops, they've got tech shops. Why did you allow them to open tech shops within your yards? You even build small structures for them to move in there so that they can actually operate from those structures. If you hate them so much, they're taking your monies, they're taking your businesses, why do you allow them then to open businesses in your townships, in your yards? Let me tell you, the same people are the ones that are assisting you, even with credits when you can't even afford this and that. The same people are the ones that are paying rents into those structures to you, those structures they are operating from. You ended up building structures in your yards for these people to operate because you needed money into your pocket. Now that you needed money into your pocket, and of course that is a true fact, why do you actually have to be against them and harass them in that particular sense? Why can't you just stay far away from them? Why can't you just say, we don't give you our shops, or we don't give you accommodation into our yards? Instead, you let them do that. Let me talk to you again. I need an explanation on this whole entire situation. Why are you not having your own tax shops in your own townships, in your own yards? Why are these people the ones who are doing that type of business? Can't you do business yourselves? Is it no other manner or method that, of course, you can use to operate like the way they're operating? They found you in South Africa, having almost whatever you got. They came into the country with absolutely nothing. But at the end of the day, they end up having something in their hands. Having those tax shops. Let me tell you something even pretty bad. They even slip into those tax shops. You allow them even to do that, which is an unhealthy situation. Which, of course, is even allowed by your health departments. Your health department actually allowed this particular issue because during the apartheid era, If a shop is opened, they would come around the health department people to come and check around, investigate what's going on there. They would not find cats or animals around. Shops would be very professional and clean, healthy for people to buy food inside there. But these ones are not. But you are the ones who allowed them into your shops to operate that manner. Whereas you know exactly that during those times of apartheid era, things like that were not happening. You are being two-faced. Why are you doing it? Let me actually go down to the towns. In different towns, all the foreign nationals who came into the country, I wouldn't say they came as investors, they came just in as those kind of business people who were allowed by the corrupt system of your government. Now, the owners of the properties, that means of all the buildings in the towns, you know for a fact that those people are foreigners. Did you actually ask them for their document to see as whether are they professional in the country in order for you to offer them places to operate? No, you don't do that. Secondly, those who are staying in flats, buildings and all that, with their families and all that, did you ever find out or establish with whatever method their documents as whether they allow them actually to be rented out, buildings or flats or properties to occupy or to home them? Did you? No. But you are South Africans. You allow those people to do that. At the end of the day, you are the ones who are saying they are stealing your businesses, but you are the ones who gave them the shops. You are the ones who gave them the homes. That means you gave them the flats to rent. At the end of the day, as two-faced as you are, you started persecuting these people as if they are the ones who took over your shops, who took over your flats. Business people in South Africa, I understand the reason why you gave those people your shops to rent. Because from the time the white people decided to give the government to the black people, they decided to move out of towns, city centers. They left the buildings because you wanted to control the buildings. Those buildings were empty. Obviously, the owners of these properties, running businesses, they wanted to make money. Hence, they actually got involved into being confused and convinced to get foreign nationals to rent those properties, to rent those shops, so that they can survive. Hence, those people from outside, they took an advantage of that situation. Who do you blame here? Blame yourself, because you are South Africans. You gave them accommodation, flats, those properties and shops. Let's look at the streets. Among all those people who are foreign nationals, there are others who actually decided to establish small businesses in the streets, putting up stands and all that, selling all kinds of things. Why can't South African people, or the black South Africans, let me be specific, because I don't see white people sitting in the street selling. Why can't you do the same thing, putting up stands and all that, and then start selling? So that if they accuse you of why should you be selling in the streets like that, you can tell them you don't have money in order to pay for this and that, maybe for accommodations or to pay for properties that you can rent. Why can't you do that? Who said you shouldn't do that? Because if you could do that, you'd be competing against them. Obviously, if South Africans were in a position to do that, those foreign nationals would not be in the position to actually open up business in the streets and start disturbing the shops. And you South Africans, one other thing that, of course, I'm going to be pointing a finger at you. Once the white people left those shops or the buildings, why didn't you move into those buildings yourselves and start opening up shops like what the foreign national did? Now you're blaming foreign nationals for having opened up the shop, then you're saying they are taking your business. But go to each and every town in South Africa. You find 99% 99.9% are foreign nationals who are actually owning buildings in towns. Where are you? Who said you shouldn't do that? Who prevented you from doing that? Is it your government? No, it's yourselves. Now, when these people came in, because they are becoming successful, and they're even staying in the businesses there, in the shops, you start pointing fingers at them. They are taking your businesses. Who stopped you? You're supposed to be the ones that is 99.1 actually who occupied those businesses. What happened? The only business that we know how to occupy, and we don't allow our people, any other person from wherever to occupy, are taverns and taxi industry, transport industry. Those are the only ones. The rest of the other businesses, we let them get into the hands of the foreign nationals. At the end of the day, we want to point fingers at these people. We want to fight them. We will actually blame them for our actual misfortunes that has befallen us. Why? This is not right. Let's look at the other industry, which of course allowed foreign nationals to move into the farms. Farmers are actually employing foreign nationals. Did you ask yourself the reason why? I quote, in most cases, these foreign nationals, when they come into the country, they come up with what we call trades. Because in their countries, when they get to schools or to colleges, there is that method that, of course, is constituted to actually find out exactly how good is an individual person in a particular trade. And then from there, that person or that student will be directed to whatever he or she knows best. You find most of them, they know more about farming because they're from the villages. Yes, they studied agriculture. Yes, they studied animals. Now, when they come up with the trade, with the knowledge, experiences, each and every individual would like to see his business growing. They will employ these people onto their farms so that they can be successful. Because your government failed you. They gave you 12 subjects, a child 12 subjects to study, and not actually establishing what is so good about the child, or the child is good in what trade, what is the talent and the gift that the child has, so that they could actually redirect the child to the passion that the child might be having, so that the child can be productive. Hence, the farmers are not taking them. Whose fault is that? Again, our children in South Africa, our people in South Africa, don't like to work in farms. They would love to have those type of jobs that, of course, are very fancy. At the end of the day, most of them don't even want to work. Because there's an introduction of unfair methods that, of course, was put up before them. Getting money for that they've never worked for. 350. A person will just be sitting down and say, I'm going to get that money. They don't want to work. Because all these politicians, when of course they were out there for positions, they started coming up with funny methods of trying to get the votes. Inviting people, saying this is what of course is going to be happening. People are going to get money for free. And people, once that is put into place, they start taking advantage of the situation. They don't want to work. Look into the factories. The Chinese. Why don't they actually employ South Africans? Why South Africans don't go in there and get jobs? Because my people in South Africa, you got issues, you want things for free. Look, let us actually face facts here. Let's face facts here and stop actually fighting for things that, of course, are not there. If you go to a place and start looking for a job, and you qualify for a job, and you're a South African, you got your documents in order, obviously, you will be respected. You are not going to have those expectations and come up with the so-called your rights, telling the owner of the work, of the business, what to do or how to pay you. He's the one who's got the right to tell you what he wants, and you are going actually to be attached to whatever criteria he wants you to be attached to. Now, if these people are coming in, you start actually fighting. They are taking your jobs. How are they taking them? They never kicked your asses. They never actually push you out. The people who made actually choices to employ them are those within the structures where, of course, they are employed. What does your government say about it? Or what did your government say about it? They kept their hands folded. All those politicians who invited you to the dark end of this world, they are the ones who are just keeping up, folding your hands, keeping their mouth shut. Because they know exactly. They invited you to vote for them and gave you promises and just gave you something to touch onto your mouth and make you actually to be past people who cannot be performing. And you expect this country to be performing with people who are not doing anything about it. Imagine if we never had farmers from outside there, or we never had farm workers from the other countries and all that. What would have happened to the food industry of this country? So you need to wake up. You need to wake up. Make sure you get these jobs. You make sure you learn the trade in these jobs so that you can be employed. And let your politicians get their minds right. Because with them, it's all getting whatever they want, enriching themselves at the expense of your suffering. Today, you're suffering because of them. Today, there is a battle among the people in this country, South African nationals versus foreign nationals, because of them. Let's look at it properly. There are 4 countries here, which of course are targeted into this whole entire situation. Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, the first 2, Nigerians, Ethiopians. Those are the targeted countries in South Africa. You never hear that somebody from the Lesotho or the Lesotho nationals were actually done this was done to them, or from Swaziland, or from Botswana and all that. Only those that actually took care of South Africans during the hard times are the ones that are targeted and called names, simply because they cannot express themselves in South African languages. My South African people, we need to change and stop calling people names. We stop beating up people. My South African people, when these people are getting into our country and they start working into our country, yes, let's understand. We need to make sure that we approach our government with a situation that, of course, we find prevailing in the country. But let us look at ourselves. How do we get involved into the whole entire situation in order to make sure that things are better? Get into businesses, open shops, do what you're doing, compete. Then we'll know exactly that you're heading for something, not sitting out there waiting for something to be coming into your pocket while you are seated. Something pretty bad that, of course, is actually also happening. Your health department in South Africa. This is pretty bad what you're actually demonstrating. We are all Africans. We are born under the same sky. We don't share the same horizon, but we are Africans. We are the same with the skin. Yes, we were together throughout, thick and thin. When we were in the countries, when we were sick in their countries, we used to go to their doctors, we used to go to the hospitals. Why, when these people are coming into our country, when they're supposed actually to be seeing doctors in the hospitals, they are actually prevented not to, or they are stopped? Simply because you people are saying they are not paying taxes, you are taxpayers, you are this and that. Let us actually look into the structure of taxation. When those people, foreign nationals, are buying things in South Africa to sell, those things are taxed. They are paying tax to those people they are buying those things from. Is it not true? They are paying taxes. Those foreigners are paying actually monies to the owners of the shops. The owners of the shops are actually taxing these people, and the owners of the shops are paying the taxes to the government. Those foreign nationals are getting into South African transport, which of course are being taxed. They pay for the money, for the fares, which of course are taxed. Now, if you say you are paying tax, they're not supposed to be going to the hospitals and get this and get that. Are you expecting these people to be dying into your country when they never let you die into our countries, into the countries? That's not fair. People who are saying all these things are ordinary people with no knowledge what is actually happening. But I blame your government. It's the one that actually put us South Africans into this particular mess. We hate our brothers because of our government. Few up there in government are the ones who actually made us majority to suffer. Before, there was a phrase, few must die for the majority to live. That means if few must die, that is the government people supposed to be suffering. They're supposed to be coming up with wonderful offers whereby they even take out from their salaries certain types of monies that of course they will actually unleash to the multitudes in order for the multitude to survive. Instead, they are not the ones that are suffering. The multitude is suffering. It's vice versa. We got to look into the whole entire situation. I would say, my South African brothers and sisters, let us not fight foreign nationals. No. Let us actually go to this government that we voted on power to sort out this mess, to close the tap that is running. After closing the tap, then they must actually clean the mess. This is their mess. You cannot clean the mess as an ordinary citizen. You're going to stand up there, start making noise and all that, screaming, breaking things and all that. It's not going to work. You know, you got a wrong impression that the South African freedom was actually received, or we got it through all these kind of funny things, fighting and all that. No. It's not 1976 that actually got the South African freedom. Instead, we suffered. Our brothers died. Most of the people suffered. We ran out of this country. We could not match the standard of those white people with the guns and everything. We could not match. Hence, we died. It's not 1976 that actually got freedom for this country. Freedom of this country was actually God. Through a man of wide vision, a man who stood up and went into those cells and started talking from there, challenging the whole entire global society to look into the matter of South Africa. That is Nelson Mandela and his colleagues. Not stone throwers. We were stone throwers. It never helped us. Instead, we suffered. Let us try to be more intelligent now. We shouldn't think making noise in the streets, breaking our windows, breaking the towns, breaking the infrastructure is the actual solution. Don't break your own things. No. Walk to your government. Go to those guys and give them what they need. Tell them off. Remove them because they cannot give you services. This is unfair what is happening to us South Africans. This is unfair what is happening to our brothers who are actually foreign nationals. Why are we fighting? Why should we be fighting? They are not getting into our homes, breaking into our homes and taking foodstuffs and from our homes. They are making food for themselves from the streets, from the business that they actually opened because of the corruption that your government got involved into. Because they are the ones who actually offer them all the opportunities to come over here and start doing all those type of things. We can't blame them. Blame your government. Let me come to the third party, foreign nationals. Brothers, I understand you are wonderful people during our times of the struggle of apartheid era, during the apartheid era. You received us in your countries. It was fantastic. We appreciate that. It was lovely. And in your countries, there were laws and regulations that, of course, we were attached to. Of course, we were governed with all the time. We were not free to go everywhere. I remember myself. We could not go everywhere anyhow. We had to have permits to go there, and this and that's supposed to be done. But you never called us names. But now, I got a point for you, nationals, foreign nationals. Since we never moved unlawfully in your countries, what makes you actually to move into our country, into South Africa, illegally, undocumented? What makes you like that? That is an offense. Hence, you are subjected to all these things that are happening to you. If you get into a country lawfully, you'll be accepted. You'll be treated the right way. And if your time expired, you must leave South Africa. You got to get out of South Africa to your country. If you want to come back, you're going to renew from that end and come back to South Africa. This that you're doing is pretty wrong. I know in your country, South Africa, I mean, your countries, Zimbabwe, Zambia, all those type of things. Things were just done in a different manner. You could not just come up in the city center and start putting up stands and start selling things around, disturbing the movements, well, opening up all your small business in front of other people's shops who are paying rents and paying taxes and all that. You would not do that. I've been in your countries, I know exactly that. Why, when you come into South Africa, you're doing those type of things? Who actually gave you a permission actually to open up businesses? If you don't have a permit, why are you opening up a business in the country you don't have a permit to open a business into? Why are you doing that? I know you don't care a damn. You sleep in those places, and that's the bottom line, and that's the end. You don't care. But why are you doing it? You come into South Africa, you start doing ill things. Your ill doings are not actually accepted. You start manufacturing drugs. In your countries, you don't do that because you get killed. Your government will send you to hell. But why are you doing it in South Africa and destroy the children of South Africa? We know for a fact that it's happening. But let me tell you, it's happening because you guys are corrupting the people in our government. You got people who are actually working together with you. You got those guys that are on your payrolls. We know even the police officers are on your payrolls. Why are you doing such things? You are the ones that are actually making South African nationals to be against you and to start treating you like that, because our South African towns are full of all these homeless, currently drug addicts, all terrible children, boys and girls, who of course we cannot actually regard them as humans but as subhumans because of you. How can you come and sell drugs that you know are deadly to humans in South Africa? You can't do that in your countries. In Nigeria, you get killed. You'll be sentenced to hell if ever you are just going to be selling drugs like that. In Zambia, in Zimbabwe, wherever, you can't do that. Why are you coming to South Africa? Because South Africa is a free country where, of course, you can just come in and start destroying. No, it's unfair. Hence, these people start calling you names. I wouldn't say they've got the right to call you names, but they've got the right to be angry. And an angry person, you cannot stop him or her from saying anything that he wants to say or doing anything that he wants to do. Hence, you are subjected to all these things. You are victims because of these things that you are doing. If you are decent enough, coming into this country, you're supposed to be knowing exactly what is expected from you. You get in here legally. If you want to do business, you go to status whereby you'll be in a position to get to relevant departments that will actually give you permits in order for you to be operating. They'll be telling you exactly where to operate, not anywhere. And you start standing up here and fighting South African nationals when they are actually screaming against what you're doing. No, brothers, that's wrong. You're not supposed to be doing that. All what you have to do, go and get yourself documented. Those who don't have documents, leave South Africa peacefully. Get back to your countries. If you want to come back to South Africa, come back to South Africa legally and follow the right channels of how to do business, how to do this and that. Some of you, we know that you even get married to South African women. You make them pregnant, make children with them, with the hopes of actually getting documentation that, of course, is going to be attached to your stay in South Africa. Listen, I'm not against whatever is happening between you and the women. If ever it's loving, it's really like that, there's nothing wrong in that. But the manner in which you are doing it is pretty wrong, some of you, because all what you do, you get married to them. Once you got the documents, you go back to your countries, you go and fetch your wives, you divorce the South African girls that you have got married simply because you got documents. And those children will actually be supported by South African government. That is why people are complaining about their taxes and all that. That, of course, will be supporting the children that you made in South Africa. That is wrong. All what I'm saying to you, brothers, listen to exactly what is happening. Just do the right thing. It's never too late. Pack up your stuff from the street. Clean up those streets. White people during apartheid era, they would have given you hell if ever you'd be doing things like that. Because South African towns were beautiful towns in the whole entire continent. You'd never match your standard of South Africa, whatever city in the African continent. But the cities in South Africa are actually damaged because of all the nonsense that, of course, have been allowed due to the corruption that came from above down to you. Just move out. Clean up the places. Go out. Go and get your documents right. Come back to the country. Be okay. Come and stay in the country, but legally. Don't do the wrong things that will end up people calling you names and all this and that. It's not fair, it's not nice to be called names, to be beaten up. You came here and you lost everything. Now you got to go back home injured and all those type of, you can't even get medical attention in South Africa because of the anger of the people. You too, your mistakes. You made mistakes as well. But anyway, in general, I want to ask South African black people, why is it only the Africans who are actually treated like subhumans? We've got people coming from Asian countries, China, Japan, whatever, Pakistan, India, and all that. They are not treated like that. You are treating only the black people like that. Why? They're white people from Greece, from wherever, who open up business in South Africa. Maybe those ones, they open up business in South Africa because they follow the correct channels. That is why maybe nothing is being said. But if we can go behind closed doors and go deeper, we may find out there are wrong things that, of course, happened as well. But you are only accusing black like yourselves. Hence, at some stage, I said, it's like whoever is created with a black skin is created with the fiber element of blood curse of self-destruction. Because black people, it's like we don't love one another, we destroy one another. I've never heard you say white people, or I never heard you say Greek people, I've never heard you say Chinese, and this is all about blacks. But I need to accept one fact. We can actually say white people, they follow the rules. They know exactly what is expected. They will go the right way. And they will go and group themselves wherever, do things in the proper manner. With us, no. If you African people from Nigeria or from Zimbabwe, wherever, would not have put up stands in front of people's shops, dirty stuff, and start selling all wrong things, drugs and things like that, these things would not have come up. I don't say these white people are better than you anyway, but they know how to do things the right way. Look what you have done to yourselves. In polite terms, my South African brothers, I'm sorry about everything that I've said to you. I know you are angry. And we are standing at a distance and we are watching angry people in motion. And you can't just stop them anyway. You need to explain to them exactly how to calm down. Separate your souls from your spirits. Disconnect your soul from your spirits for calmness. So that once you connect your spirits and souls, you will be in the position to have clear minds of how to sort out these problems without the troubles. These are your brothers. You'll be in the position to handle them the way you're supposed to handle them. I know you have been confused by the government. If the government started the right way, this would not have happened. I close my